For decades, the 1986 graphic novel Watchmen has been hailed as not only the greatest comic of all time, but one of the greatest pieces of literature of all time. The part that still boggles my mind is why. Watchmen's goal, for all intents and purposes, is to create satire of the superhero genre. But does it actually succeed in that mission? The book itself seems like it has the outward appearance of taking the common tropes of the comic book genre and twist them into something new again. However, the problem for me is I think it misses the mark. Don't get me wrong, I understand the goal of Watchmen, but I find it misses its own point and as a result becomes a labor to finish. Many critics call the novel a masterpiece, but there are a select few who share my opinion of its overbloated reputation. One such person is comic writer Grant Morrison. The specific quote goes as follows. "The fact that none of the characters were allowed to be smarter than the author, that really drove me nuts. The world's smartest man is an idiot. He makes a plan all his life that is undone by the end of the book in an instant. The psychiatrist sits with Rorschach for 5 minutes and Rorschach tells a super banal story about how he became a vigilante and the psychiatrist cracks. If you're a criminal psychiatrist who deals with men in prison, you've heard a million of these stories. It was all to make a very specific point about how the real world isn't like superhero comics. I would go further to say that the author's attempt of making gritty DC character equivalents is extremely unlikable and off the mark. All of the character equivalents are unbelievable as counterparts, and really, like I said earlier, it makes the book a chore to finish. By the end of the novel, I wanted the villain to win because I hated this superhero team that much. The question's equivalent, or really an argument could be made for Batman, is Rorschach, and he's made to be a homeless sociopath. He calls his costume his real face and ultimately meets his end in a pointless display. If you want to get even more technical, Night Owl is probably another character on the team who could be interpreted as a Batman clone, but this time mixed with Blue Beetle. However, Night Owl is made to be a spineless and mild-mannered counterpart. Also, he's so spineless that he is a detriment to the story and the rest of the team. Captain Atom, or vaguely Superman, his godlike equivalent is Dr. Manhattan, and he is by far the worst character in this story. He is so detached from humanity that I would say he's actually the real villain of the story, even though he's supposed to be one of the heroes. The point of Superman, or any hero for that matter, is to be a symbol for humans to look up to. Not a god that gets bored with humanity and flies off to Mars. Also, he's naked the whole time. Because, you know, why would a god wear clothes? Simply put, I believe the entire labor that Watchmen is attempting insults comics, not subverts them. This is a bitter and jaded spoof, not a clever subversion of the superhero genre. How could something miss the mark this bad? You don't have to give the genre a middle finger in order to remix its narrative tropes. It seems over the years the author has only gotten more bitter. This is only confirmed by an extremely recent interview by the Watchmen creator himself, Alan Moore, and it was controversial to say the least. Here are some highlights. I'm not so interested in comics anymore. I don't want anything to do with them. The way the industry has changed, it's graphic novels now. It's entirely priced for an audience of middle-class people. I have nothing against middle-class people, but it wasn't meant to be a medium for middle-aged hobbyists. I haven't seen a superhero movie since the first Tim Burton Batman film. They have blighted cinema and also blighted culture to a degree. I've been told the Joker film wouldn't exist without my Joker story, but 3 months after I'd written it, I was already disowning it. So in conclusion, the man who created the most talked about superhero satire of all time thinks that comic books are A, too serious, and B, for children only. This is the prime example of using your platform of extreme fame to destroy everything you built behind you. It's like inventing the skyscraper and then saying that architecture is dumb. What's the logic? Who is to say?